wanted to show you that. Now what we're going to look at is the walk that Sky News did. I've never looked at this with you. I watched it the morning that they did this walk. I was watching it, and I was avid, like watching it, because that was the first time that I had actually seen the scene, you know, the place. I mean, obviously I've been there now, so I've got a better impression of it now, and I've seen lots more videos as well. But that was the first time I had actually seen the place. Hi, Sharon. You've got a spray tan. Oh. That was this Sky News walk that we're going to see. And you've probably all seen it before, I imagine, at some point. But it's really interesting to watch it again. And then somebody emailed me, one of my subscribers emailed me to talk about it and to pick up some sort of anomalies in it, etc. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to watch the walk that Kay Burley and Izzy Rashid, that the walk that they did and they filmed. We're going to watch that, and we're going to have a little comments about it. Now, if you see anything or think anything, let me know in chat. But I'll be commenting on it as we go along. Right, so let me just. Okay, so Sky News retraces her last known steps. Now, I don't know if you know, but they tried to be there at the exact time that Nicola would have been there. So they started off at 8:43 a.m. when she would have dropped the children off at school. Now, they said they were following her exact walk, but this subscriber who sent me an email said he felt that they went the wrong way round. Again, let me know what you think, what your impressions are. What was the other thing I was going to say? So yeah, and the other thing to remember, which I find now watching this again is very eerie, because this was the Friday. They went on the Friday to do it, so that it would be the same day that Nicola went missing, the same day of the week. This was the Friday before Nicola was found on the Sunday. So as they're walking around that river and the drones are out and God knows what, because they've got, Nicola, according to the police, was in that river, wasn't she, supposedly? But nobody saw her. She floated at night time only. Poor Nicola, I'm sorry, but she moved somehow miles down the river, but nobody saw her floating or saw her moving. So it must have all been at night time, when it happened, because all the fishermen, and we'll say there's some really eerie things in this video now, knowing what we know now. At the time, they wouldn't have seemed eerie, but now they seem very eerie. So this is the path they say that Nicola took. Let's have a look.
But this is a walk that probably took about 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, roughly. Started around 8:40. Then the last kind of known whereabouts of Nicola was that phone, the dog willow, and the lead, all by the bench where we were earlier on today. And that was found at around 9:30 by a lady who actually lives nearby. So, a usual walk, though, for Nicola. Nothing out of the ordinary that was happening on that walk, of course, up until that 10-minute window, which police say that she's been completely unaccounted for.
Yeah, okay. And as far as the police are concerned, they're no clearer now, really, as to what happened to her.
No evidence, no clues. A family still questioning what on earth has happened. Yes, a main working hypothesis, but police also stressing they're keeping an open mind. The big...
if anyone asked me to summarise what I thought about this case in one word, in 2 words, I would say no evidence. No evidence of anything, is there? That what he just said then, there's no evidence. There was no evidence. Still is no evidence.
Question is 3 weeks ago when Nicola Bulley went missing, what happened in that 10-minute window?
Yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to start from the car park, which is where she came with the dog and the kids, dropped them off at school. And then we're going to walk along the road, just to give you an overview, walk along the road, walk down by the river. And then from there, we are going to walk around the fields and try to get an idea of what might have happened. So that happened at exactly 8:40.
Yep, 8:40
From
right
here.
now.
Now, I just want to say as well, when I first watched this, I honestly, as I was saying, I just found it really useful, you know, to get a feel, because we'd heard all these things, this poor woman that had disappeared, and then I did find this walk very interesting. I remember at the time, but I think this is only the second. I've never watched it since.
Then what happened?
So Nicola came, parked up her car here. She dropped off her kids at school. She would have taken her dog Willow out of the car park, as she normally did, and walked her along this path next to the car park of the tennis club and the school, and
I'm
along
happy for
the
you
school
to spin round if
as
you
well.
want to have a look rather than, yeah, there we go. So,
And this is a very normal route for Nicola. Almost every single morning, this is exactly what she would have done. Her kids coming to the school to our left as well. And this is a busy road. Inskip down there is where the family home is. So she would have come down this road and then onto the road up there, a very busy main road.
this is Blackpool Road.
Yeah, Blackpool Lane it is, yeah. And the police have stressed about Blackpool Lane because there are hundreds of cars.
700 vehicles.
Yeah, that would have passed through that morning. And so they are cleared.
It is a very busy road. Even when I went that day, it was pouring down with rain. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There were cars whizzing down that road. There were loads and loads of cars. It's a very, very busy road. But the only CCTV or the only dash cam is apparently from a policeman. But we've never seen that dash cam. We have never seen that dash cam. How strange, don't you think? We've seen all the sort of CCTV of all the witnesses they were trying to get. We've never seen anything with Nicola on it. Nothing. Strange, I think.
They want to try and speak to every single one of those drivers to get as much dash cam footage as they possibly can to try and piece together what exactly has gone on. So
they've had to cross the road, you know, which, anyway, I didn't realise the school was so close there. And why were they at school there? Why weren't they at school in Inskip? Anyway.
Would have crossed this road and would have walked down this path, which heads up to not only the bridge which she crossed, but in fact, the church which she would have passed, a church which has been a real focal point over the last 3 weeks for a lot of the community, for Nicola's family, when she's when they come here to kind of, you know, just shine a bit of hope over what's happening.
Now, this is odd. I think this is what a couple of people were commenting on the other day. As they're walking down there, suddenly, where did she come from? This woman appeared out of nowhere. I don't even know how she appeared, because 1 minute they seemed to be walking and there was nobody around. Then this woman appears dressed very similar to Nicola, of course. And I'm not sure if this is an Emma, because they seem to have leaflets.
Happen over.
Yeah. You see, let me just, it's hard to rewind it just a little bit.
Not only the bridge which she crossed, but in fact, the church which she would have passed, a church which has been a real focal point over the last 3 weeks for a lot of the community, for Nicola's family, when she's when they come here to kind of, you know, just shine a bit of hope over what's
Where did she come from?
happened.
Look, are these leaflets in her hand there? Is this Emma?
Over.
Yeah, I don't know who that is, but anyway, odd.
The last 3 weeks.
Okay, so it's 16th century church, very beautiful building. Just walking past some of our colleagues also broadcasting from here. The reason it's so poignant today is that it's 3 weeks today since she disappeared.
Yep, 3 weeks today.
Beautiful church.
Is what she was. Yeah, it's a really lovely church. I've been inside as well. It's really lovely.
I personally really do like Kay Burley. I've just noticed a couple of comments there. I like her. I think she's good. And I could tell she was really angry when they'd released that information about Nicola being menopausal and stuff like that, like a lot of us were. Anyway, we'll see as we go along. Because she said something like, well, what's that got to do with anything? You know, she liked to drink and she was menopausal. You know, you might as well talk about half the women in the country. I'm sure Kay, when she was menopausal, she probably liked to drink. You know, that was the terrible thing for me as well, that information that they released. Anyway.
The vicar has spoken to us a couple of weeks ago, spoke of how this community is really in.
Oh, and I just want to say, see all those cameras there and everything, all different mainstream medias. Now, remember, this is when they're saying about all the TikTokers, and I know that there were TikTokers who went there and YouTubers that went there that were maybe a little bit too much. But you'll see on this video, there's nobody there. Only mainstream media are there.
Shock after what happened 3 weeks ago. And I actually met Nicola's sister inside this church just a couple of days ago. She was leaving a message on a tree that's inside there with the yellow love hearts, messages of hope for Nicola. And she would have come up here to this iron bridge, which again...
Oh, somebody commented on one of my... You know, it was strange that Louise was never at the river, was she? Or she was never interviewed at the river or seen at the river. Odd, really. But anyway, they're saying that she was in the church. That was my sister. You know, because I always say about, oh, if it was my partner or even if it was my dog, I'd be in that river searching it. That shallow water. I wouldn't care how cold it was. You would have to keep me out of there. You would have to handcuff me to this fence. And if that was my sister, you know, oh my God, I would literally be distraught. You know, they're supposed to be close. Very odd. Why was she not there searching? I would have been searching every day. It's odd.
Has been another real focal point of the last 3 weeks. Look at all these beautiful ribbons, daffodils that have been tied up with messages. Nicola's partner came down here, leaving a message on one of them as well. And as we just go a bit forward.
Yes, remember his message, come home now. That was his message. Come home now.
We get to the other side of the bridge and essentially the start of the path, which is next.
Oh, there's some more cameras set up there for some other mainstream media. Where's all these ghouls? Where's all these bloody TikTokers and YouTube ghouls? All that, what did they call them? Grief junkies or whatever they called them. Where are they?
To the river. This is the path that runs along the river wire, and it was 8:43.
Yeah.
This time.
This is when
right
she
now,
first hit this. So you know, quite a pace she was walking at, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. We you know walked, and she's got a dog with her. Probably the dog, you know, running a bit ahead of her. You're a dog walker yourself.
The river wire there.
Yeah, that's the river. You can see actually, you know, there is a bit of a flow to the river this morning. But, you know, this was all normal for Nicola.
Yeah.
You know, walking along this path, you know, the river to her right, the dog be scurrying off ahead of her.
Dog off the lead by now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not entirely sure whether the dog is still on the lead or off the lead, but certainly when she got to the fields a bit further up, the dog was definitely off the lead. But this is her normal walk, and this is, of course, this riverbank which has been scoured by police, not only in the water, by divers, by specialist teams, but on the banks as well.
Now, something else that occurred to me while I was watching this again is, you know, all this talk about the harness. Did she take the harness off or didn't she take the harness off? when in all the photos that you see of her, the harness is still on Willow. Now, if she had taken that harness off, now harnesses, you know, you probably won't stick it in your pocket because they're a little bit bigger, aren't they? I don't know, but did nobody see her carrying the harness? So all these witnesses that supposedly witnesses that saw her walking the dog, would they not have seen the harness in her hand? That's never really been established, has it? Would they not have seen that harness in her hand? Or did she stick it in her pocket? And if she stuck it in her pocket, why was it not in her pocket when she was found? Why was it just like put there at the side of the river, just like a decoy? It was a decoy. Even Paul said it was a decoy. Come on.
By forensic police officers, they've really investigated and thoroughly checked the banks and the waterbed,
gone down to the
surface of
sea
water as well.
and back again on several occasions with the scuba team.
Yeah, there has been, look, you know, there's no denying, Kay, there's been a lot of resource pumped into this investigation over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
There has been, you know, a really high-tech equipment used as well to try and see if they can locate Nicola. Of course, their working hypothesis is that she did end up in this river. You can just see as we go around here as well,
Here,
Kay,
actually, yeah.
this is the weir.
Yeah.
Now, what the police say is that it is very likely that if Nicola was in the water, the force of the river could have, that the flow of the river could have sent her over that weir. And that's where you see the water picks up, the pace picks up.
Can I just say as well, this is what I mean about being eerie. Because if the police were correct, now I don't think maybe she was even in the water then. This was the Friday, remember? She was found on the Sunday. I knew she would be found on the Sunday because on the Friday, that's when Emma said about the last push. We mustn't forget these things. You know, it's good. I'm glad I'm remembering it. Emma was saying we thought we'd have one last push to see if anyone remembered anything. I think that was Emma because she was having the last push. They had the big blowy man, you know, it was the last push. And I thought then, strange, why is it the last push? There's only 3 weeks. You know, you won't give up after 3 weeks. You might give up after 3 months and say, all right, we'll have one last push. But 3 weeks later, you would still carry on. So what I find really creepy about this is I don't believe, I agree with Brenda. I don't think Nicola was in the river then, but maybe she was. Let's suppose she was. It's creepy to think that as they were coming up and take it, and there's, you know, they take a lot of footage, obviously, and drone footage from above, and then was Nicola in that river all that time that they were filming her? It's just, so why wasn't she floating? Where was she? You know, they're walking up there, they film this river all the way round.
And she could have gone further downstream.
Okay.
But, you know, this has also been a point where police have been launching their boats off here to try and get into some parts of the water, to get near to some of the deep parts where they can do some of their diving and see if they can get any evidence.
So just to clarify what's going on here, we are trying to walk at a pace that she would have been walking at. This is exactly what would have happened 3 weeks ago. She's dropped the kids off at school. She's walked along the Blackpool lane there and she's moved onto this path that will take her to her normal route where she walks the dog Willow.
And look at this, you know, posters everywhere now. Nicola's face is plastered over this village. We saw this morning driving in, you know, even miles out, missing.
What everyone's saying there is true. It's not only the Sky News being there on this long walk and shoot, you know, one. People walking around there all the time, and what they're trying to tell us is that she floated down that river somehow, went over the weir. Nobody saw her. That's why I was saying before she must have only floated at night. You know, at night when there was nobody there, because nobody saw her in the daytime. Load of rubbish.
Posters, someone with some evidence who may have been driving that Friday morning. Do you know where Nicola is? Did you see anything? Did you see her entering the path? Did you see her leaving the path? Was that a possibility?
Yeah.
But now we're just walking into a path which basically takes us to where we've been broadcasting from this morning.
Yeah, and the next juncture of where people last saw her.
Yes, exactly. You know, we've seen already a number of dog walkers this morning. It is a busy dog walking area. Plenty of dog walkers almost every morning. I've been told, okay, that Friday morning, the 27th of January,
Very cold.
it was very cold, yeah. It was really cold.
And slippy.
Slippy because of the mud.
And the ice.
Yeah, and the ice. And there weren't as many dog walkers as there usually would have been that morning. I mean, if there were more, maybe we'd have more answers by now. You know, it's a minute thing that the weather wasn't the greatest. It could have seen more people out on the footpaths walking their dogs. But, you know, we're heading to the fields now where Nicola was sighted.
And there's a lower field and an upper field, yeah?
Yeah, so there's a lower field to our left as we get through.
So again, this is the media tent. There's no social media there. It's all like mainstream media.
Through this kissing gate. And this gate, actually, I think we have to mention because it will play an important role in when we talk a bit about what happened later on. We just get through it. So
this is what, I mean, this is basically what we call a kissing gate, isn't it? So this could have been, the dog was stuck this side, so it couldn't come if she went back this way. And that, let's come. The area that we just walked along, that is where there's no CCTV.
No.
Sorry, did you see that? See, there's some really creepy things in here. Look at it. That's not Mark Williams Thomas, is it? That was something that struck me. It might be him. I don't know if it is or not.
Get through this kissing gate. And this gate, actually, I think we have to mention because it will play an important role in when we talk a bit about what happened later on. We just get through it. So this is what, I mean, this is basically what we call a kissing gate, isn't it? So this could have been, the dog was stuck this side, so it couldn't come if she went back this way. And that, let's come.
Look, who's that? There's a man in black right there. It's really creepy, this video. When you look at it closely, you can see, who is that? I think it might even be the guy, the Fletcher guy from before. We'll see him later on in the video. But someone there that's hanging back. Or is it Roger or Ron or whatever he's called? You know, I don't know, strange.
The area that we just walked along, that is where there's no CCTV.
No.
We go down this way?
Yes, so Nicola would have come through the gate and she would have walked onto what is now the lower field. Just a big open space. I can imagine, it's not been confirmed, but I can imagine police are suggesting that Nicola would have taken Willow off the lead here.
Yeah, of course.
And let her roam about.
Yeah.
You're a dog walker, you know, that's what would.
And then he'd have been off. She'd have been, I keep saying here. And we're going to get to the spot now where she was spotted by another dog walker. Yeah,
that happened in a couple of minutes' time. So that was around 8:50. So we'll get to that shortly. So because what she would have done is, and I've spoken to dog walkers over the last 3 weeks I've been here. This is a normal route for all the locals, people who knew Nicola. Nicola herself, you can see actually, see the path
worn
there?
Path, yeah.
You know, it's a worn path. People do this on the regular. And this is where she would have brought Willow as normal that morning.
So what's striking me at the moment is that she had quite a lick on. So, you know, she wasn't sauntering. She wasn't like alone with her thoughts. She was properly moving.
Yeah, but I think there is also, given everything that's come out over the last few days, Kay, her family and her friends, and I think people in general who are watching this will be thinking, what were Nicola's thoughts that Friday morning? How was she feeling? What was going through her mind? We know she was on a meeting call. We know she texted a friend, all that kind of stuff. But what was going through that mum of two's mind?
She's doing well, Kay Burley there. She's like, he's running out of breath. He's about probably half her age. See, look at her, like sprinting round. Because she's about 61, 62, I think, Kay.
particularly when just over 2 weeks before that morning, she had a visit from police because of concerns for welfare.
Yeah,
It's
we
a big
know that a
question.
medical team went to the home on the 17th
Yep.
of January, and
Yep.
they haven't told us anything more than that.
No.
But we do know that the police have referred themselves to the complaints committee
Yeah.
as a direct result of that.
Yeah, and what happened there? Lessons to be learnt. Lessons to be learnt. Yes, the policeman forgot to put his body cam on. Load of rubbish. He had his body cam on. They just don't want to show it for whatever reason, because they made a total bollocks of it again. So, but yeah, remember, we've had the result of that one. We're still waiting for the result of the other review, which was supposed to be out in the autumn. And actually, are we still in autumn or are we in winter now? I think winter maybe starts in December, but it's all such a load of rubbish. Yeah, and any police people out there watching, you're rubbish.
Moment.
If we just pause here, because before we get to the upper field, it was around this time, roughly about 8:50, that Nicola was then spotted by another dog walker.
Yeah.
Someone who knew her, walking around the lower field with their dog as well. The two dogs actually interacted before the other dog.
Now, let's not forget that when this walk was filmed, this was before the inquest, or it was before Nicola's body was even found. And there was no mention of the man in black, no mention of the screams, though the police knew about those things, but they saved all that up, didn't they, for the inquest? You know, if Kay Burley would have known about the screams and the man in black, I think this would have been a completely different video.
Walker went off and took the river path, which we've just come down, and Nicola then carried on with her dog Willow.
And we wanted to do this retracing of her steps today to illustrate to people at home, you know, what had happened. There's so much intense interest on what has happened. She's the front page picture on all the papers, seemingly every day. And yet it's difficult to place things together until you sort of do this sort of walk, I suppose.
Especially when you're in such a rural area. Look, this is such a quaint village.
Beautiful.
A rural, quaint village in a rural part of Lancashire. You know, it's hard to picture exactly what went on. And we've seen Nicola's face, you know, but what is the story behind Nicola Bulley?
It just makes me laugh the way you say it couldn't happen in a rural area or what. I mean, you know, bad things happen in villages. You know, there'll be a load of nutters in that village, I expect. Half of them are on Facebook. You know, it's like, sorry, but there are, you know, just because it's a beautiful little village, you know, I've said that to you when I went there. That's how it struck me. It's all beautiful. It's picture perfect. I mean, it really is a beautiful place. But that doesn't mean to say that nothing's going on there. What's that there? Just that. See that? What is that? Come on, my little chatterat-eye. What do you think that is there? Strange.
What happened to her in that 10-minute window? And that's what, hopefully we can paint an image of what led up to that point.
This is the upper field.
Yes, so now we're heading into the upper field. So she obviously had an interaction with the dog walker in the lower field, and then she moved here to the upper field.
You keep saying it's huge. It's not huge. It's tiny.
Actually, just goes up this bank here, and then we get into the upper field, and that's where. And she had her mind usually walked.
Yeah, she had her mind on work, because we know that in a minute or two she would have messaged her boss.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important piece. A bit muddy here.
Yeah.
It's a really important thing to notice, actually, that, you know, Nicola.
Ooh, that was a steep.
Be careful. Nicola was, you know, thinking about work. You know, she was thinking about work. And the police have gathered that from the evidence of her phone, which was left on the bench, still unlocked.
Yeah.
You know, they will have forensically examined that. And they will have seen that, okay, she sent emails, she sent texts. It was in a couple of minutes' time, actually, that she would have been texting or emailing and walking. And on the left, you can see the river wire
So her
next to us
pace
as
has
well.
slowed a bit because she's texting and emailing. And,
Well, you'd think, you know,
Yeah.
you'd think keeping an eye on Willow,
yeah.
you know, just having chatted to a friend, thinking about what she's emailing to her boss.
Yeah. Is this the wire as well?
This is all
So it
the
loops
river
round,
wire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the where it kind of meanders round
Yeah.
and then heads downstream. But look, a vast open field.
Yeah.
Again, a trodden path.
Yeah.
Obviously worn, as dog users usually would use. We've seen some this morning taking this route.
Yeah.
Again, look how tranquil the river is. You know, there's no, and it's shallow, and you know, there's no way Nicola was in that river.
As well, and
So she,
very shortly she would have just been finishing her email off, which goes to her boss.
Yeah.
And
so she's looking at the dog. She's making sure the dog's all right.
Now, this is something, this email that went to her boss. So we've never been told what was actually in that email, have we? I mean, do we know why is that email a secret? What she said, or what did she say in that email to her boss? I don't think that's ever been disclosed, or maybe I'm wrong. Did it come up at the inquest? What was in that email to her boss? What did she say? Odd.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, from my own experience, you keep an eye on them, but you're doing other things as well. The sheep across the way there, just obviously keeping an eye on what's going on. And then she sends the email.
Yeah, at 8:53, police say right now, 3 weeks ago, Nicola hit send.
Yeah.
And an email was sent to her boss.
Yeah.
And police basically say that, you know, that's an important juncture because we can get a sense that, yes, she was active, she was on her phone, and she was essentially, you know, if you're emailing your boss, you're in a fairly decent frame of mind.
Yeah.
You know, that email didn't suggest anything otherwise. It was a standard work email.
Yeah.
And so that's an important piece in this route. So she would have carried on here. You know, with Willow, email sent, maybe phone back in the pocket. Maybe, actually, one thing we have noticed, Kay, is Nicola, and friends have told us this, Nicola used to take so many photos when she was out walking.
Right.
You know, her family shared photos with her, with Willow of her to us. You know, so many photos when she'd be out walking. She'd have a Fitbit on,
Although
which would track her steps.
Up, was it?
No, that wasn't synced up, police said.
Yeah, she didn't take photos that morning, but maybe she wasn't. She looks in that CCTV when she leaves the house and gets in the car. She looks like she's annoyed about something. She does. She's in a strop for whatever they've had a night. He's looking at her like, oh, you know, he's sort of judging her mood or whatever. So she didn't take any photos that morning. Well, she wasn't there for a start, in my opinion. But anyway. So somebody sent me an email because, you know, some people believe in psyops. I don't believe in the psyops. I have all respect for anyone who believes that. That's fine. I don't believe it, and I do believe that Nicola was a real person. And somebody said to me, "Oh, well, no, who takes all those photos of themselves all dressed up?" Well, she will have only taken photos when she's dressed up. You know, any of us who take selfies and put them on our social media, like, you don't put your crap. That's why I'm on an avatar tonight, and I'm not showing myself tonight, because people don't do that on social media. You know, you take your selfies, you normally have to take about 10, don't you, before you get it nice, you know, and you would only do it when you felt like you looked nice, your hair was nice, your makeup was nice, for women especially. And so, yeah, of course. Or, you know, when she took her dog out for a walk, sometimes she would be dressed up, probably more for the evening walk or afternoon walk, not for the morning walk. Morning, probably it was just get the kids to school, pack everybody into the car, forget your makeup and stuff, and then do your makeup when you get home once you've got the kids off to school or whatever. You know, unless she was one of those people that got up at, like me, sometimes you get up at 6 in the morning and do, you know, I don't think that's strange that she was always done up. And of course, she was done up when it was summer photos and that. She, you know, of course she wouldn't take a photo of herself when she wasn't done up. You know, women don't do that.
Would have been very useful for the police, but it hadn't been synced up for a few.
except for Summer Wells's mother, because I have noticed about her, Candace, she don't give a shit, does she? She just puts herself on there, whatever she looks like. But, you know, a lot of women who pride themselves in their appearance, look after themselves, you would not put a dodgy photo on social media.
Few days.
Yeah, and
now
actually,
she's thinking about doing a Teams call.
well, yeah, a Teams call would have started at around 9 o'clock, so in about 6 minutes' time.
Yeah. So she's thinking about it. It's a work Teams call, and she's thinking, okay, I need to go on that call for 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Meantime, walking by the river with the dog, potentially taking photographs. I don't think she took any that day, did she?
And bitterly cold as well. Remember, you know, Nicola was well kind of padded up with her clothing. She had a full-length black kind of padded jacket on. She had wellies on. She had socks, a hat, a scarf, and, you know.
You know, one thing that I wondered was just a possibility, and this is a total theory. Did she go out that day, drop the kids off? It seems that she did drop the kids off because she spoke to people at the school. And because it was so cold and horrible and everything, did she go home instead of going for a walk? And did something happen because she wasn't supposed to go home? You know, because I've done that before. If the weather's really bad or whatever, just, you know, if you've got somewhere where your dogs can go out and do something, you think, oh God, I'm not going out there. It's too cold, or it's pouring down with rain, or go home, let them out in the garden, or let them out on I've got like a roof terrace where there's a bit where it's like they can go if they get caught short. I did wonder that. Did she get, instead of going for a walk, did she go home, and did she find something untoward at home, and did something happen, and then everything else? Just a theory. Lots of theories.
She was well wrapped up because it was bitterly cold that morning and muddy, like it is right now. And, you know, we can see kind of holes and big kind of divots in the ground. But again, she was used to all this. She did it almost every morning. She was used to it. There was nothing out of the ordinary for her whatsoever.
The last images we've seen of her are getting in the car, aren't they? It's a bit windy, forgive me. Hopefully you can still hear us. Getting in the car with the kids and the dog. And that was from the security at home.
Yeah, it was from the front camera at home. And actually, you know, it was released, it was handed to us by some of Nicola's friends. You know, they were like, look, this is what she looked like on that morning. Grainy images, but we want to share these so people can jog their memories and get an understanding of where she was, what she was doing, what she looked like. And, you know, those were the last images we've seen of Nicola on that Friday morning, loading the car as she normally would and starting her journey to head to the school. Yeah.
We know that the family are watching us this morning.
Yeah.
It's so difficult for them.
Look, I mean, I've been in touch with this family for the last 3 weeks. I interviewed them, you know, her sister Louise, her father Ernie, her mum Dot. It was really, really tough because they were just clueless with, you know.
Now, see what he just said there. He's been in touch with the family, with Ernie and Dot and Louise and everything. He interviewed them, didn't he, at Emma's house? Imagine how he must have felt when they turned round and laid into Sky News, didn't they, through the police, through Pauline's stables. He's thinking he's built up a relationship with them, and they just turned round and, you know, just sold him down the river, really. Sky News, they specifically mentioned Sky News, and this poor guy, what did he do except try and bring it to people's attention? Oh, I missed something there that I wanted to show. I think I missed it. Anyway, hang on. There's a bit, maybe I haven't come to it yet. Yeah, I might not have come to it yet.
On that call for 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Meantime, walking by the river with the dog, potentially taking photographs. I don't think she took
images we've seen of Nicola on that Friday morning, loading the car as she normally would and starting her journey to head to the school.
Yeah. We know that the family are watching us this morning.
Yeah.
It's so difficult for them.
look, I mean, I've been in touch with this family for the last 3 weeks. I interviewed them, you know, her sister Louise, her father Ernie, her mum Dot. It was really, really tough because they were just clueless with, you know, no answers, no evidence, no idea where their sister, daughter, a mum, a partner has gone to. You know, I think the words that they used with me, Kay, was that feels like she's vanished into thin air. That's what they've said. And, you know, because there's a 10-minute window, which no one's got any clue what happened to her. And the family, you know, have had to be incredibly strong over the last 3 weeks because this is a case that we've seen has taken so many twists and turns. It's had involvement from, you know, every Tom, Dick and Harry, you know, on social media, people trying to be involved in.
This is where they have a go at social media again. I mean, it's ironic, really. The podcast that we won't have time to listen to tonight, but we'll listen to another day. They're slagging off the social media as well. And I wonder what he thinks now when they turn around and attacked him.
Being armchair detectives.
Such a shame that the family is so impacted by that. You know, social media, it can be such a poisonous place to be. I'm so sorry that they are impacted so badly.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, and they have been wonderful with us as well, you know, giving us information about Nicola and telling us exactly, you know, what kind of a woman.
They've been wonderful with us, giving us information about Nicola, telling us what kind of woman she was. And then when after Nicola was found, they laid into Sky News, really, and what they mean is Izzy, because he's the one that had the contact with him. Do you know what? When I say they, you know what I mean.
And she really was. But look, here we're heading now on the path, which essentially leads towards the bench. So if we maybe slow down here a bit, maybe we've been walking slightly quicker.
So she would have been looking at, you know, what was the Teams call about? That starts in a couple of minutes, doesn't it? What was it about?
So this was a Teams call that she would have then logged on to, a work Teams call. The police have actually said that she wasn't speaking, she was just listening. And actually what they said is that while she was walking, she had her phone out in front of her, listening. That was apparently quite normal for Nicola to do. The call would have been on speaker, there would have been other people talking.
Her camera was off?
Her camera was off.
Okay.
And it was just logged on for her to listen, essentially, to what was going on in the call. And that's
she
a
was
really
in finance,
important.
Wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a mortgage advisor. And her dad had actually told us just a few days before she went missing, you know, he was so chuffed because she just, you know, signed off a deal. She was incredibly happy, you know, she was in good spirits.
And had anybody seen her here, or there were the two sightings just the other? So just to show you the other side of the field, just there, that she'd walked up and then walked round in a big loop, if you will.
Yeah. So just up on this side, someone actually did spot Nicola. A witness spotted Nicola with her dog Willow. They actually then, police spoke to that witness to get more information. They put out a
loop, if you will.
Yeah, so just up on this side, someone actually did spot Nicola, a witness.
The guy, you know, that I was showing you the photo of, the Fletcher guy, who I'm not sure if it's Rupert, but it's his dad or whatever. He is here. He's over there somewhere. You'll see him at some point.
Spotted Nicola with her dog Willow. They actually then, police spoke to that witness to get more information. They put out a picture of the witness. They got in touch with the witness. They spoke to them and they got some information from the witness just to piece together the timeline of what we're doing this morning. But, you know, this is a vast area, as we can see, the lower field, the upper field. It's a normal move. She takes Willow all the way round and her walk would have carried on. You know, I think
River
it would have been
always one side or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, look, you know, you walk with your dogs. She would have taken it nice and easy. She just dropped the kids off to
I mean,
school.
the banks are steep here. It has to be said, and they would have been slippy, but
they're not steep. Anyway, Nicola knew not to go down there. She would, to fall in, she would have had to be on the edge.
You know, you would have thought most people would be able to get out of that unless there was some way where they were injured and couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, look,
Hear what Kay's saying. She's there at the scene. when I went, it was like you couldn't. God, I mean, there's obviously I went in the summer, wasn't it? July, I think. There was a lot of foliage. There was a lot of. Wasn't like that. So it's interesting to see them there. When there is nothing, then you can see nobody's going to fall down there.
For a whole different number of questions. If the police's main hypothesis is true, Kay, that Nicola ended up in the water, the big question is why and how did she essentially end up in the water? They're the two things that police will really be trying to answer. And that's why they've scoured this river endlessly to see if there's any evidence.
Yeah, so if you're just tuning our way, we are retracing the steps of Nicola Bulley 3 weeks ago today. It's 9 o'clock, and she would have been on a Teams call about now.
Yeah, it was about a minute's time or so. She logged into that Teams call. I imagine the meeting started at 9 o'clock. Nicola logged in about 1 minute past 9.
Yeah.
She would have held the
Still
phone
on
out
this path?
from. Yeah. She was just walking along this upper field here.
Yeah.
She would have held the phone out in front of her. Sorry, police said, and that's where.
That's what you do, isn't it? When
You've got it on speaker.
Teams. Yeah.
You hold it out in front of you.
Yeah.
And she wasn't talking. She wasn't on video. It was
Her
just
pace
simply.
would have been slower here because she was listening to what was being said.
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned, her dad said in relation to work, she was in good spirits. She just, as a mortgage advisor, had just got a deal through, so she was happy about that. And she sent an email to her boss that morning around 8 minutes prior to that. And she was in good spirits. It would seem at the time, but the big question is that what was going through her mind? What was Nicola?
Did you see him then? What's
feeling that morning? We know
she
had struggles with alcohol, as police have revealed.
She was listening to what was being said.
Yeah, and again, as I mentioned, her dad said in relation to work, she was in good spirits. She just, as a mortgage advisor, had just got a deal through, so she was happy about that. And she sent an email to her boss that morning around 8 minutes prior to that. And she was in good spirits. It would seem at the time, but the big question is that what was going through her?
There, that's the guy there. He's there, the Fletcher guy, the one that I showed you the video of earlier. That's him. There, you'll see him later when he comes through.
Her mind. What was Nicola feeling that morning? We know she had struggles with alcohol, as police have revealed. We know she was struggling with the menopause, and we know that 17 days prior to her going missing, police had gone to her home after reports for concern for welfare. How much of a role
Everything's
is that
focused
play?
on this river, though, isn't it? Everything. The kids are at school. They're safe. They're happy. They're well. The dog's with her. We've seen them all put in the car, but the police continue to focus on this river.
Yeah, and it really has been the focal point of all of this, Kay. From day one, police had teams here searching around the riverbank, searching the area where she was last seen. And then every single day since, there's been so much focus. It actually turned probably around towards the end of week 2, we noticed that police had actually told us they were focusing their search downstream. So we're talking, a good few miles downstream.
Comes out near Morecambe.
Morecambe Bay, yeah, exactly. And actually, they were searching in the sea at one point. There were boats out in the sea searching there and making their way upstream to just...
Oh, there he is again. Yeah, he's there at that time in the morning.
Catch any evidence. What would have...
Why didn't he see anything?
Been quite interesting is that they were actually searching a lot of the police were actually searching a lot of the banks, because if Nicola had been in the water, it could have been likely she could have been caught somewhere. There could have been a piece of clothing that could have been caught onto a branch, perhaps on the bank. And so that's been also a very big focal point for police as they continue their search.
So let's recap what we know so far then. She dropped the kids off. She walks across the road there and then onto Blackpool Lane.
Yep.
Blackpool Lane?
Blackpool Lane.
And
Blackpool
it's
Lane.
a busy road. I mean, the pace that we were walking at, we're working on timings that we've been given of people. So she was walking really quickly until she got into the lower field.
Yes.
Then she starts to slow down.
Yeah.
And then she gets here.
Yeah.
And she must have stopped because, you know,
well,
there's still
I think
some more time.
the place where she potentially stopped was actually on the lower field over here, where she met another dog walker.
Yeah.
And they actually had a chat. The dogs had a bit of a play together. You know, someone that she knew as well. And so, you know, I think probably there was a bit of a break there for a few minutes as she chatted with that person. And police will have spoken to that witness, got details of what the conversation was like, got details of what Nicola was like that morning as well, because that will be so crucial to their investigation for all different avenues that police are investigating. But she would have spent a good few minutes chatting with that witness that police say has come forward and spoken to them, who had a dog walker who was, you know, knew Willow and knew who Nicola was. And then she carried her walk along to the upper field, where we've just actually come round slightly from. She sent the email to her boss there. Then she would have come further, and still on the upper field, she would have dialed into her Teams call. So that was 9:01, dialing into her meeting with work. And then in a few minutes' time, actually.
Yeah, so apparently here, they're showing the wrong way round from the way they're doing it. I hate these things because I just can't get my head around geography or numbers and timelines. You know, it's just so confusing.
Actually, approximately, police say, because they can't pin exact timing locations, she was then seen by another witness, and that happened roughly, police suggest, at around 9:10. So we're still a few minutes away from that. So it would suggest that actually Nicola's
slowed down here somewhat,
a very slow pace.
Yeah.
And actually, probably, Kay, you know, you've got a dog, as dog walkers do. She's let her dog roam around a bit, you know, off the lead, run around a bit. She's let the kids drop the kids off at school. She's got a bit of time on her hands, it would suggest. And that's why it's taken, you know, a bit of time for her to make her way round lower field, upper field, and by the river wire here.
Yeah. And then that she is seen again in about 3 or 4 minutes.
Yeah, roughly about 4 minutes' time.
Yeah.
A witness, and again, someone who knows Nicola, actually then saw her again.
Saw her from a distance. Didn't really see her.
And it will have been on this stretch of a path, so adjacent to the upper field is what police are suggesting. This route all the way round that we've taken,
it's not a big route. As a dog walker, it's not a big route. You know, this loop is going to take you 20 minutes.
It's not a huge loop. Maybe the dog had a chance to run around in the field. You know, there's a big open space. And what do police want to know? The potentially people who haven't yet come forward, who would have seen her during this period of time. And that's really been the appeal. We've had, you know, I think we've had 3 police press conferences now, maybe 4 actually. And every single time they've appealed for more information. People who were driving on Blackpool Lane that morning to come forward with dash cam.
Yeah, appealing for all that information. Then afterwards it's like, oh, F off and don't take any, you know, it's none of your business.
Footage in this time window that we're going through right now. Any other dog walkers that morning who knew what Nicola looked like, who saw her dog Willow, to come forward and just give us some detail of what happened in the 10-minute window, which has currently been unaccounted for. This is a busy dog walking area. You know, there will have been, you know, a number of dog walkers, although, you know, it suggested to me that it was bitterly cold that Friday morning.
Yeah.
You know, there weren't perhaps as many dog walkers as you would normally suggest. It was incredibly muddy as well, you know, but again...
She'd have been on the call. I'm just trying to think what she would have been doing, you know. She'd have been on the call. She'd have been looking at the river. The snowdrops are just out across the way there. She would have been taking in this beauty spot. She's not from Lancashire originally. She's from Essex, isn't she? And she's moved up to be with her partner, Paul. Paul is absolutely sure that she's not in that river. Yeah, Paul has said...
I don't think she moved up there to be with Paul, did she? Did she not move up there with her husband? I think she met Paul later. But again, this is something that we don't know 100%.
Previously, you know, he is 100% sure that she's not in that river. He actually said that he would like police to search, you know, every home, speak to every person in the area, caravan park over there as well. He wants this whole place thoroughly combed. Police say, look, we've done that, you know.
Yeah, he wants the whole area thoroughly combed. That's what he said, didn't he, in his interview? And the police have said, he's just said then, the police have said, we've done that.
We have investigated all the lines of inquiry in this area where we believe she potentially could be.
They've searched 300 properties.
Yeah, so there's 300
abandoned properties. They've searched one across the road across the river rather, three times.
You can actually see, I don't know if the camera can see it, but the abandoned property is just to our left here, Kay, and that is a property which has been searched, and police said, look, she's not in there. And anyone who's come along, and you know, people have actually tried to break into that property, you know, armchair detectives coming and filming on TikTok and things like that. Police have warned, stay away from that, she's not in there.
Armchair detectives just sit in their armchair, they don't go and try and break into properties, is he? Anyway, I bet you wish you hadn't been so close to the family now, seeing how they bloody accused you and you had to go to Ofcom.
Someone still owns that property.
When you just mentioned TikTok, let me just, before we move on, because in the next point when she was spotted, I was speaking to the council leader in the 7 o'clock hour, I'm not sure if you were with us or not, and he was saying along here was like the front at Windermere. I mean, the number of people that have been here in order to try and be sleuths or whatever, have their picture taken on the bench, whatever it was.
It's quite
hard
sad
for the family, that, you know.
Yeah, and it is quite sad because look at the heart of this story, Kay. You know, there's a missing woman and 2 girls at home without a mum, and there were 2 little girls, and
it just makes me so angry how they say these things. And I don't think it's right. It was right to go there and try and break in a property or whatever. But the police were appealing for people to help. They're there. What's the difference between them being there? So all I've seen on this video is mainstream media being there. There are no TikTok sleuths there or armchair detectives.
People were rocking up here, you know, in their dozens, and it was like Blackpool seafront. You know, it was like a circus at some stage.
I've never
people
seen
filming
that
and
photo.
You know, trying to spot Nicola and trying to spot evidence. You know, I think there was one stage where someone called out there was something green in the water. It was a chair that they went, you know, that police ended up pulling out. But you know, people.
Yeah, but they didn't know it. It could have been Nicola, couldn't it? Could have been Nicola. So it was a chair, but they saw it.
People were coming down here in their absolute numbers to try and get a sense of what had gone on. But I think also it shows the real interest that people have had watching this from wherever they are.
So she walked into the field. She's seen a fellow dog walker who she knows. The dogs have had a little play. They've said their farewells and then moved on. Moved into the upper field. She sends an email to her boss.
Yep.
And that is fired off, and she continues to walk along the top of this field here, and she starts to join a Teams conversation.
Yep.
The camera's not on, the audio is not on,
Yep.
but she is holding it out
and
in
listening.
front of us, and we know that because somebody saw her right now.
Yeah, it was at 9:10 here on the upper field that somebody then saw Nicola, a witness that has been spoken to by police. So 3 weeks ago, let's put this in perspective, 3 weeks ago, 9:10 in the morning,
Here.
somebody saw Nicola walking with her dog Willow here. That was then interrogated by police. Police put a picture of that witness out, and that witness came forward, spoke to the police, gave as much information as they possibly could, and you know, that was an important juncture in this because that was the last sighting.
Yeah.
Nicola then carried on with her walk.
Still on the call.
Still on the call, phone out in front of her, call on the speaker, listening to what was being said in this meeting. The thing is now is, you know, we're not actually that far, Kay, from the upper field to the bench further on, and it took
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
From here to, I'm going to say, 150 metres.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know?
So what's happening?
well, what has happened in that 10 minutes? And that really is the big question. What police had actually said, you know, her phone moved towards the bench area. That's what they said.
So they can track that, can they?
Yeah, so with forensics that they've had on the phone, they just said the phone moved towards the bench area. Now, look, you know, I think that's quite unusual language, because that doesn't say, you know, Nicola's taken the phone to the bench. That doesn't say, you know, that it was directly placed in her hands into the bench area. It just said that the phone was moved towards the bench area, and that was between 9:10, someone seeing her on the upper field, to 9:20. That's where the phone was moved to. And
yeah, that's always strange, that, isn't it? When they said the phone moved to the bench. All the time before that, they've been saying, oh, Nicola this and Nicola that. And then suddenly they started saying the phone moved to the bench. It's odd, that, isn't it? Sorry, but it is odd.
actually subsequently left, all while still logged on this Teams call, a meeting.
So she's not walking all this time, obviously, because it's not a very far distance for her to move.
No, and, you know, maybe the dog is running.
Here comes Ron and Jet. Because this is Jet, isn't it? Well, say Ron, his name's Roger, isn't it? Izzy got his name wrong, and we all called him Ron from then on, didn't we? You know, I mean, it's like, if it wasn't so tragic, it'd be funny. And this is his dog, Jet, who unfortunately is no longer with us, because Jet has passed. She has, or he or she has gone over the Rainbow Bridge.
Around, remember the dog off the lead, running around. She's perhaps Willow has gone off somewhere. She's calling Willow, maybe, but you know, she's not.
Now, I'm not sure if this is staged or not. I was never quite sure if it was staged or not, because I remember when I was watching this, I couldn't believe it that somebody came up right at that exact time that they were there. You know, I remember thinking, not for the first time in this case, gasping, like, oh my God, who's this coming? You know, I didn't know who it was then, but just some guys coming up at that exact time that they reckon something happened to Nicola. And now I watch it and I think, I'm not sure if it wasn't staged. Was he, you know, did they get him to come up at that exact time? I don't know. Or were they hoping to see him at that time?
Moving quickly, we can safely say that, because the upper field to the bench ain't really that far.
Yeah, doggy coming.
Yeah.
And, you know, just to illustrate, you know, that this is where the dog walkers come all the time.
Yeah.
Her partner came along, Paul, and he's retraced these steps many times, hasn't he?
And I just remember this was hilarious, wasn't it? Because Jet then went off and actually did caca, as they call it in Spain, did a caca right on camera. And wouldn't your dog do that? You just know my dogs would definitely do that. You know, it's just like the most embarrassing moment. They do. I mean, especially my white dog, Riley. He is, honest to God, you can walk him around all the places where it's acceptable for him to have a caca. And then as soon as you get into the middle of the road, I mean, I would always clear it up wherever it is. But the thing is, you're right in the middle of the road. He'll then do his caca. We've been on bits of campo and bits of grass where he could do it, and I could pick it up calmly without being worried that might be run over, or, you know what I mean? But no, not Riley. You wait, and I'll walk round with him and walk round with him, and in the end I think, oh God, I need to go home, like, you know. And as soon as you step into the road, there's loads of cars coming or whatever, the most awkward place in the world, he does his caca. And then I have to try and pick it up, while at the same time trying not to get run over, or there's other dogs and he's barking at them, so you can always rely on your dog to do a caca in the most embarrassing place possible. And Jet, bless him, or her, I'm not sure if it's a girl or a boy, she's no longer with us, but bless them, they managed to do it right on live TV.
he has. And he came down pretty much straight away. You know, he wanted to see what was the scene like, what happened here straight away. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Come on
Fine.
through.
Do come
How are
through.
you?
No, not at all.
Good to see you.
You live here?
Well, it has been like that. So you actually saw the phone, is that right? Yeah.
And then Ron or Roger or whatever his name is, he's trying to go off and clear it up. But Izzy won't let him go because he's thinking, oh God, let me interview him. Oh dear. Just a little bit of levity in the middle of a very serious situation.
You saw the phone that Friday morning?
Yes.
Yeah, and that was around, was it after 9:30?
I gave a full statement to the police with the exact time because my wife's telephone call had the time on it. So, but I've given a full statement.
Yeah.
Was it just on the bench, or
Pardon?
was it just on the bench?
The phone?
Yeah.
It's so funny because she says, was it just on the bench? And he goes, the phone? Like, what else? But anyway, you know, this is it. I mean, at the end of the day, Ron has obviously got, you know, his hearing isn't brilliant. His dog's just done a caca right in full view of the cameras. Oh,
How's the last 3 weeks been?
Each day something new comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
each day something new comes out.
Yeah. And in terms of, you know, when you saw phone, lead, and Willow, who you knew who Nicola was.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you knew Willow. That was it, wasn't it? You knew you knew Willow.
I knew I'd seen both the owners of Willow walking this dog in the past. But whilst I knew them by face, like I know your face, I didn't know the name.
Yeah. But I remember you actually telling me when you saw the.
So I do think that's true. I mean, I walk my dogs. I meet loads of people that I see often. I don't know their name. I know the dog's name normally. It's funny that, isn't it? You go, oh, you know, what's the name? You know, don't know the actual owner's name, but you know the dog's name. Now, don't forget that Paul and Nicola, they didn't live there in St. Michael's. They lived in Inskip. So Ron would not know them. They didn't, you know, it's quite likely they didn't actually know who they were, but he knew, he'd seen them probably maybe together sometimes, maybe because he would know the dog. And he probably may have even known the dog's name.
Phone, the lead, and Willow, you were like, okay, I'm going to keep an eye on it because something doesn't feel right.
I thought somebody had gone to the toilet in the, you know, that was my first.
You know, there was a lot of thing about that. People saying, oh, was there a toilet in the woods? It wasn't a toilet in the woods. What his thought is, possibly somebody's been caught short, you know, and gone for a wee in the trees and just left their phone there, which obviously I don't think is likely. But he may well have thought that. You know, and this also made me confuse it. Who found the phone? Was it Penny or was it him? Have you listened to this now? It's very confusing, this, what he says.
I got to about this red brick building here and I thought, this is not right. And then there was a conversation, but my wife was trying to ring me. I was trying to ring her. Penny had rung my wife. To say that she'd fastened the dog up that was. And
Penny was the lady who actually spotted Willow initially and saw the phone, but didn't know what was going on with the phone.
That's right.
Yeah. And then after that, you know, what happened?
Well,
what were the next steps?
It was just a progression of things happening. You know, we found out because of the wallpaper on the phone. We found out who the couple were, then the school was contacted and Paul arrived.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll let you carry on with your walk. I know you do this every morning. Yes. Nicola did this almost every morning as well.
Probably, yeah.
We're retracing those steps this time 3 weeks ago. Yeah. So an important
I know.
juncture. Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care.
All the best.
You.
I mean, how important is that? You know, someone who
so he obviously does that walk about this.
He still doesn't pick up the caca, but I think he picks it up on his way back.
Same time every day, doesn't he? Yeah.
And one of the first people who actually spotted, you know, the phone on the bench, who was contacted by the lady who saw it first. He came down here, he saw the wallpaper, he saw a picture of who was on there. and then they knew.
Then they contacted the school because
Yeah.
they must have figured that the kids were at that school.
Yeah, and that would have been the first contact, and then police would have been informed, and then the search operation
And because she
begins.
was high risk, they reacted quickly.
Yeah, that was actually something that they said initially when they spoke to her partner Paul. They found out that he was that Nicola was high risk, that she had specific vulnerabilities. They then categorised her as high risk, and then they're like, okay.
And that's because of what had happened previously. The police had been called, hadn't they?
Yeah, it was 17 days before, actually, the 27th of January. So the 10th of January, police had gone round to Nicola and Paul's home because they had reports of concerns for welfare. And so, look, straight away, when that is taken to an account, police said to me that rings alarm bells. You know, that really does ring alarm bells. And straight away, Nicola is categorised as high risk.
Just tell us what happened when the police were called.
Well, the details are limited, Kay, but what police have said, it was 10th of January, they received those calls, they went round with health professionals, they say, medical professionals, not entirely sure what kind of triage team that is, but they go to the house, no one was arrested at the time on these, you know, concerns for welfare, but what they have said is that they are continuing to investigate what happened on that day, 17 days before Nicola went missing.
I'm just looking around as you're chatting to me, and I just look, there's nothing about this space that makes you think that someone would have disappeared here.
And I think that's the real shock to this community and to, you know, people like Ron the dog walker that we just spoke to. A real shock. How on earth has, you know, the nation's eyes descended on this small, quaint village in Lancashire after a missing mum of two? You know, how has that happened? How is that even possible? And it's still, you know, 3 weeks on, no clues, no evidence. There was a whopping question mark over what on earth happened 3 weeks ago this morning.
Excuse me. So she's walking, it's slippy. It would have been slippy when she was here.
She was in wellies as well.
Yeah, which would have been tricky to walk in. She's done the loop, she's done the lower field, she's done the upper field. She's spoken to the boss. She sent an email to her boss. Yeah. She's still got her phone in front of her. Still
on the Teams call. Well, it's in this time now between 9:10 of the witness spotting Nicola and moving to the bench. It's this 10-minute window where the words from police are, her phone moved towards the bench area. So how did it travel to the bench area? That's a big question. We still don't exactly know that.
This way.
And then this is the river bank.
We wander down this way. So this is the bank. A lot of people have been asking about the bank and how steep it is. Doesn't look that steep, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, listen to what Kay says here about it's not steep. Unless you go and stand right on the edge there, and actually there are steps going down as well. It's not steep. Nicola walked that way every day or nearly every day, maybe more than once a day. She never fell down. Her neighbour Charlotte said it would be an accomplishment to fall down there.
Doesn't in some areas, but if all the way to the bank, no, it doesn't. But then if you look further down, Kay, there is a bit of a drop.
Are you comfortable going down there?
There is a bit of a drop down there. And look, it's muddy. So please be very careful. It's muddy.
No way Nicola would have gone to the edge there. Why? Unless it was to jump in. Maybe she did jump in. Is that what we're saying? She jumped in, she was pushed in. But even if she was pushed in, she would have had to be on the edge. It's an absolute load of rubbish.
And slippy, and it would have been probably even muddier at the time. A lot of people have trampled on here in the 3 weeks since Nicola's been missing. A lot of people have gone down to peep over the bank and see if they can spot anything. Police have been down here as well.
It is slippy, yeah.
Police have also, you know, with divers and drones and underwater cameras have all been down here. But clearly a bit of a drop off from the bank down there. So if we move back up.
Yeah, and so this is the part of the river where the police think that she has gone into the water. There's no sign here at all of, you know, any scuffs or whatever.
Yeah.
But this is where her phone is found.
Well, that's it. So no sign of any scuffs, no sign of her falling in, no evidence. But the verdict was accidental death. Even though the coroner himself, Mr. I'm a TV celebrity James Aidley, I only discuss cases if I'm being paid to do it, he decided it was accidental death.
Yeah, well, look, it's 9:20 right now.
Yeah.
9:20, 3 weeks ago, Nicola's phone had moved to this bench. And this is what police say. It was here that her phone had ended up. I'm not entirely sure exactly where it was placed, but her phone was on a bench here. And that's where the team calls. It was still ongoing, by the way. It was on speaker. She hadn't spoken in it. She hadn't got her camera on, but the phone was on the bench here.
And then the dog walker that we just saw, did you say his name was Ron?
Yeah.
God, it's so convenient, isn't it? It was still on somebody turned on that team call, left it on. It's clever, really, when you think about it. They have been clever. Whether we'll ever find out the truth, I don't know.
Yes, Ron, but I mean that comes later on, actually, because Ron was, you know, he was one of the first people to notice what had.
Now, is this Ron here? Who's this? Or is this that Fletcher guy coming back? Like hanging on, they don't want to come past because of the interview going on.
What had gone on here in terms of the phone, the lead, and the dog. There was actually another lady who owns a caravan park here. She was the first person to notice Willow scurrying between the bench and the kissing gate just there. But it was 9:20, so around this time, the phone's still on speaker. The
Kay looks frozen.
Teams call still going. A Teams call with her work. She was a mortgage advisor. She just, you know, got a mortgage deal just a few days ago. Her parents told her she was, you know, in good spirits about work. She sent an email to her boss earlier that morning, and, you know, this is where she ended up. Well,
I think this little track here is relevant, because I think whoever left Willow, they then went, you know, if somebody else took Willow there, dressed a little bit like Nicola, they went this way. That's what I think. But anyway, if allegedly,
this is where the phone ended up, is what police.
This has never been
said.
cordoned off.
No, and you know, look, that's a really big talking point and has been a huge
Why
talking
was it not
point.
cordoned off?
There's lots of questions around that. Straight away, police said that she was high risk, that she was a missing.
Yeah, why was it not cordoned off? Thank you.
Person. So there are big questions as to why there wasn't a cordon around here. You know, there was huge questions because it.
Look how still the water is. Why wasn't it cordoned off? Because even if their hypothesis was correct and she had taken herself away from this world, you wouldn't let the public near it if you thought you were going to find a body. You know, if you were thinking that somebody had topped themselves and you're just about to find a body, you wouldn't let the public near it. And I really don't understand this at all, why they didn't cordon it off.
It enabled people, and we've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of people, to come here, sit on the bench, walk down to the bank, you know, and triple.
Dozens and dozens and dozens of people. I haven't seen. Who has ever seen dozens? Have any of you ever seen videos of dozens of people by the riverbank? If you have, please let me know where you've seen it, because I'd like to see that.
Trample over essentially evidence.
Let's just talk about this, because this is the spot, isn't it? The police think she's gone into the water there. They have searched this river beneath. They've had divers, they've had all sorts of people here to try to find out what's gone on. They think that she is in.
You can just see, can't you? Oh, yeah, she would have really gone miles away where the divers couldn't find her. Oh, it's so obvious.
The water. Her partner and the family think that that is not what she would have done. She just would not have gone into the water. Her phone's here. The dog is running around. But I know there's a gentleman standing there, but I just wanted to illustrate the kissing gate being just there. There we go. He's just moved it off. Kissing gate's there. That stretch there that we walked down about 40 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's that there as well?
Doesn't have any CCTV.
No, it doesn't. So what happened in this 10 minutes? This is the big question. This is the vital 10 minutes that we're in right now, that police are trying to understand what happened from 9:20, when Nicola's phone ended up at this bench, still logged into that Teams call, to 9:30, when that Teams call ended, but Nicola stayed logged in. That is a real crucial.
There you go, the bench that had nothing to do with it whatsoever, except somebody put the phone on there for a decoy.
10-minute window that police are trying to establish. What could have happened? Right, what are the options? Nicola, as police believe, could have ended up in the River Wire. How she got there is the big question. Why she went in there is the other big question. Nicola, the other hypothesis, working hypothesis that police are keeping an open mind to, they tell us, that but believe did not happen. There could have been some third-party involvement, some.
Now, just watch now. This is the Fletcher guy coming along.
Criminality.
They don't think a crime's...
They don't think so,
no.
but it's a hypothesis that they have to, keep on their radar and keep investigating. The third option is, as you mentioned, Nicola could have gone through the kissing gate, down the path, the river path, and out next to Blackpool Lane. If she turned right, CCTV camera would have spotted her. So police are clear she did not go out that path onto that busy road and turn right. If she turned left, however,
Which was back to the car.
Yes, towards the church and towards the school. There is no CCTV yet that they've established or dashcam footage that has spotted her. So that is also a bit of a blind spot at the minute for police. So there are two kind of hypotheses that they are working on. One is the main one, that she ended up in the river. The other one is that potential blind spot of if she turned left when coming out of the river path. But another thing police have always said throughout all this, they believe that Nicola did not leave this area, that she did not leave the fields. That is why they are working on that main hypothesis that she ended up into what is a cold, a very deep, and in some parts, a very fast-flowing river.
I just can't get over the setting, really, and the fact that a crime could have...
Right, watch him coming up now, the guy.
...potentially have been committed here. And I can't comprehend...
They're trying to block him out. Izzy's trying to block him out. Did you see him then?
Always said throughout all this, they believe that Nicola did not leave this area, that she did not leave the fields. That is why they are working on that main hypothesis that she ended up into what is a cold, a very deep, and in some parts, a very fast-flowing river.
Not deep. It's not deep.
I just can't get over the setting, really, and the fact...
There he is. He's coming now, the guy. The guy that we looked at in the video earlier.
That a crime could have potentially have been committed here. And I can't comprehend that a dog owner would leave the dog here and walk up that path. Yeah,
I mean, we've heard a lot of different, arguments and ideas, and people even telling us this morning in the programme that if Nicola had gone in the water, the dog probably would have followed.
He just walked right past the camera. So that's the guy that I showed you the video of earlier. One of the Fletchers, I don't know what his first name is. He's the guy who said he thought Nicola had eloped with someone.
This is a dog that swims. We've actually seen images of Willow, the dog, wet and in water before. So we know that the dog wouldn't have been afraid to go into
Just to
the
say, we're
water.
just seeing Ron go now, and we saw where we picked him up. So it gives you an idea that it's actually...
There he goes. He's going. That's him with his
It's quite
dog.
a short loop here,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is quite a short loop. I mean, I
He's
think Ron's
there
joined
every
us straight down
morning
the
at
path
that
and
time.
Yeah.
come back up. I mean, but Nicola's, walk around wasn't that, that long.
No.
Thing is, people, they have routines. I take my dogs out at certain times. You see the same people every time because I try and go as early as I can so that I don't see anyone. But if you go out at 8, you see a certain set of people. If you go out at 9, you see a different set of people. People live by routine. Who is this guy? Is that wrong? Who is this guy lurking?
No.
It wasn't a huge distance. But again, it comes back to the question, what was her frame of mind that morning, Kay? What was she feeling? What was she thinking? I'm sure all that kind of stuff, affects the way you walk, the way that you are in a morning. Was she walking quickly? Clearly not, because it's taken a long time. She was taking her time, sending emails on.
Yeah, she didn't go quickly. Strange, isn't it?
A Teams call. That Teams call's still ongoing right now, this time 3 weeks ago.
Until 9:30. The police have debunked some of the ridiculous rumours about the fishermen covering their faces and...
Oh, ridiculous rumours. Ridiculous rumours. But that came up at the inquest. A man in black, or, the fishermen covering their face. They haven't debunked the rumours. All Rachel said, not Rachel, Rebecca said, well, she didn't find it strange about fishermen being there, but they don't know who those people are. They have never come forward. If honestly, I've just realised as I'm saying this, I'm looking at the camera and you can't even see me on the camera, thank God. But just so ridiculous.
And there was a van that they wanted to talk about, but they do want more CCTV. 700 vehicles so far?
Yeah, it's dash cam footage, which is vital. You're right, look, there's been so many different theories, and police coming out on the 14th of Feb with the Assistant Chief Constable, with the Senior Investigating Officer for the first time in this case. We saw her, and they were adamant that wanted to dispel a lot of those theories from people, namely, who hadn't come down to the scene. And that was...
I just want to say thank you if you're still here with me. It's nearly finished. We're going to look at the pets soon.
A clear aim for them on the 14th. They came out in force and they wanted to dispel those theories. I think they did that. I think that's fair to say. And it drew people back to, right, what is their main working hypothesis now? But obviously in that press conference as well, we heard, the kind of shock bombshell, really, that Nicola, had specific vulnerabilities and that she... was high risk that morning.
And the Home Secretary wants Lancashire Police to explain why they've talked about alcoholism or misuse of alcohol, shall we say, and also the menopause. What's that got to do with it? Yeah. So from when we arrived here, we were telling you about the phone on the bench, which was about 9:10.
It was about 20 past 9.
20
the phone
past 9. So there's
bench.
there's 10 minutes now. So the 10 minutes we've been standing here, something has happened.
Yeah. And that's the big question.
And that's the 10 minutes where she's disappeared.
That is what police are trying to identify. Her phone was on the bench. Did Nikki sit on the bench? Did she take some time out, sat on the bench? Was her dog Willow roaming around? Was he near the water's edge? Did he go towards the bank? Was he having a look over in the water? Nikki's phone was placed on the bench. She was still listening to that team's call. But what happened in that 10 minutes?
But we don't know if she was there.
That is the big question. The phone was there.
Yeah.
Police are adamant the phone was there, but where was...
Exactly, the phone was there, but where was Nikki? She was never there. In my opinion, she was never there. That's my opinion.
Nikki. Where was Nicola Bulley in that 10 minutes 3 weeks ago today? And that's a question that police are really just trying to answer, but it's not as if this place is scattered with CCTV. We're in, a big field
a small area
next to a river.
There's quite a lot of CCTV. They got a load of the other dog walkers on CCTV, didn't they? They just never captured Nicola. There was loads of other people on CCTV. oh God, if I could interview anyone now, I think I'd quite like to interview Izzy and see how does he feel now after he sort of gave all that narrative out, and then the family turned on Sky News and said horrible things. How does he feel about that?
Such a small area. So Ron, who we just chatted to, he saw the dog running around. He saw the phone on the bench, and there was literally no sign whatsoever of Nicola. He saw the screenshot on the front, the wallpaper on the front of the phone, recognised them, went to the school, alerted the school, who got Paul, her partner, who came down very quick.
Went to the school. He didn't go to the school. You know, this is the other thing. Did they phone the school or did they phone Paul? You know, we don't really know. I still haven't had a reply from the Freedom of Information Act as to the call that Paul made that day. Still haven't had a reply. And it's been nearly 6 weeks since I put that request in. Something weird going on. There's something very weird.
And then the search began.
Yeah, and
3 weeks later.
And essentially, you know, that search kicked into action straight away by Lancashire Police, excuse me. And, you know, they really brought in a lot of specialists to try and search for Nicola Bulley. It was my understanding that actually that search reduced over the last few days or so. But we're at a very important juncture right now, okay? It's 9:30.
It had been a 30-minute team call. That ended. She'd logged on about 9:01. It had obviously started at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
But she stayed logged on.
So police say that the team's call ended 9:30. But Nicola's phone remained logged on to that team's call. In other words, she hadn't ended the call. It was still on there. The phone was on the bench. Where was Nicola? The phone was still unlocked.
I tell you what, 100% somebody else started that Teams call, not Nicola. Somebody else sent the emails or texts and tried to pretend to be Nicola. That personally is what I think. Whether we'll ever find out that that's true, whether we'll ever find out the truth, I don't know, but that is my opinion.
Locked. The phone was discovered then in 2 minutes' time or so. But again, it was what had happened in that 10-minute window. The phone was here, but the call was logged on. No one had cut it off.
Yeah. Yeah. And the dog was here as well. And as we said, the dog walker, Ron, who we spoke to, was one of the first here. He knew who the phone belonged to.
Yes.
Ron, we've been calling him Ron. It's Roger.
So what actually happened then in the minutes after that team call ended, a nearby resident lives in the house just around the corner here. She was walking her dogs and had noticed Willow was scurrying between the bench here and the
So this is Penny, isn't it, that they're talking about?
kissing gate. That's what this dog walker had noticed. What she then did, she actually got a bit of string, she told me, and tied Willow up.
So these are two fishermen by the look of it. Hang on.
Discovered.
I just don't know why these
then in 2 minutes' time or so.
Forward. Why would you not come forward?
Again, it was what had happened in that 10-minute window. The phone was here, but the call was logged on. No one had cut it off.
Yeah. Yeah. And the dog was here as well. And as we said, the dog walker, Ron, who we spoke to, was one of the first here. He knew who the phone belonged to.
Yeah, so what actually happened then in the minutes after that team call ended, a nearby resident lives in the house just around the corner here. She was walking her dogs and had noticed Willow was scurrying between the bench here and the kissing gate. That's what this dog walker had noticed. What she then did, she actually got a bit of string, she told me, and tied Willow up to the leg of the bench, just to stop her running around. She saw that the lead was on the harness, it was on the floor. she noticed her phone was on the bench. She then contacted some of her friends to try and understand what to do next. And
see these two fishermen here hiding, waiting till it's finished. You know, maybe they were the two fishermen who were there that day, but why don't they come forward? Make sure it's one of them, like my police troll. Just makes you wonder, doesn't it?
then Ron, who we spoke to earlier, was the second person to come along and see absolutely.
That's quite eerie, that, isn't it, seeing those two guys there like that at this time.
Everything that was left here, the phone, the lead, and Willow tied up to the bench. And then that's when things really started to get into action, because yes, they noticed that the phone was still unlocked. Ron spoke to his wife.
He thought someone had gone to the loo, didn't he?
Yeah, he actually said, oh, he thought someone had nipped off over there, gone to the loo, left the dog, you know, tied up. And,
yeah.
But actually, when they saw on the lock screen of Nikki's phone, there was an image that clearly
It was
resonated.
Nikki and Paul, wasn't it?
Yes, there was an image of Nikki and her partner, Paul. That resonated. And then things kicked into action where they thought, okay, we better call the school.
Was the image on the phone of Nikki and Paul, or was it Nikki and her children? Again, that's another, who knows, you know.
Because we know that Nikki's got kids there.
Sorry.
And the school then picked it up from there, contacted the police, and the investigation started.
So that happened 3 weeks ago right now.
Yeah. Approximately, police say it was 9:33, 3 weeks ago, that the lady who owns a caravan park just around the corner here actually spotted Nicola's phone, spotted Willow, and spotted the harness. She was another dog walker, so you know she.
So I don't know what's sort of going on here, and who are these, and oh, I suppose that's the camera people. Sorry, excuse me, I've got sneezes.
Noticed who Willow was, noticed who Willow belonged to, and then that's when things really kicked into action. And other locals got involved.
Yeah, so that's like the 45 minutes.
Someone's trying to sort of sneak around there.
From when she dropped the children off at school, we've walked her walk today, starting in the car park, walking along Blackpool Lane, going past the 16th century parish church, very beautiful building, walking down to where we are, and then going.
I think they went the other way to what they're showing there. I don't know.
Around the loop, the lower field, and then up to the upper field, sending an email to her boss saying hello to people that she knew along the way, dialing into a Teams call.
Oh, what's that? Hang on. Oh, no, it's okay.
Just after it started at 9 o'clock, making her way to where we are now. We know that her phone made its way to here. Yep. It was left on the bench. The dog was here. The harness was here. Yep. There was literally no further sign of Nicola, and that has been the case for the last 3 weeks. It has been perplexing for Lancashire Police. It has been devastating for her family. We'll have continuing coverage here on Sky.